Hello, my friends. It is our final Friday to spend together, and I think we've done so much amazing work together. I'm so very proud of us. Such a good job. Such a good job. All right, so today is Friday, and today we talk about outgoing money, and what outgoing money looks like, and what it looks like to live in your intention and to understand whether or not you are living in your intention and your outgoing money. So at the top of our coaching, at the hard to believe it was 6 weeks ago, but it was in fact 6 weeks ago. We started by telling ourselves the truth about the money we spend. Okay, there is truth about the money you spend. If you would like to know that truth, my recommendation is use YNAB. If you want a referral link, I'll give it to you. Right, YNAB is you need a budget. Whether you use YNAB or Mint or what else, an Excel spreadsheet or a pen and paper, don't care. Like, you got to understand the truth of your outgoing money. And then the question is how do those thoughts make you, how are you thinking based on those numbers? How are you thinking based on those numbers? What does that look like? Okay. And it's incredibly important to understand that process because, I have money that comes into my business. And I have money that goes out of my business. And yeah, I got to balance the two. And if I want retained earnings, the incoming money has to be bigger than the outgoing money, right? And if you want savings, you have to do the same thing, right? But the question is like, are you even telling yourself the truth about what you think about your outgoing money, right? And then once you tell yourself the truth, how are those thoughts making you feel, right? If you had to sum up in one word, what does it feel like? When I started this process of looking at the outgoing money in my business, I felt I can identify it now as being super out of control. In like when I started, was like, I'm gonna pay down the debt, and it was like a ton of willpower and a ton of like super negative emotions that I didn't even notice, and I didn't even know I was coming from there. And I did all of this work from that energy, and it didn't work, but it did. Okay, and that's the thing I want to talk to you about, is that if you recognize like who you are and what you're doing in the world, and you just take a few moments and ask yourself that, like I've asked all of my coaching clients that this week, because the work gets hard. Okay, it gets to be a pain in the neck. It gets to be like 50% negative, but there's still the 50% positive. And what everybody tries to do is like resist that 50% negative. Sometimes you're going to feel incompetent, right? I woke up at 4 o'clock yesterday morning and I had this 15 minutes of like sheer incompetence. Oh my God, I can't believe I let that happen, right? And then I don't have my workbook here, but then I did my workbook and I was like, I am developing the capability, right? And I know that, and it particularly, like, it was super interesting yesterday because it particularly had to do with outgoing product, okay? Which in many respects, guys, is outgoing money. Like when you send product out the door, like I talked about this on the podcast yesterday, which you can find the video on the Proofing Box, or you can find the Smallholder Food Business Development Institute podcast on your podcast player. And I talk about this week. Outgoing money or outgoing product requires costs of goods sold. Okay, even if you're like a coach and you're selling books or workbooks or whatever, there is a cost of goods sold. It might be very small, but it's there. All right, if you are selling meat, if you are selling shell stock, whatever you're selling, there's a cost of goods sold associated with it. When you ship something, that is money and products leaving your door, and you have the choice of what you think about it. Okay, and you get to that choice when you recognize whether or not you're living in your intention. Okay, and so you say, hey, Dr. P, what is my intention? Well, isn't that a good question? Right? And it's not, I mean, you can read 15 different books on it. I probably have read them all. Okay, or you can decide like your intention is super easy to find. And actually, that's what I ended up doing. Right? When I discovered my intention, it was because I decided my intention was super easy to find. And so I found it, and I really, really like it. And my intention is leadership through love. Right? And I have spent the last 6 weeks trying to figure out on these Facebook Lives how I am living my intention, how I am living leadership through love. Okay. And it's been a fascinating, joyful journey, and I've absolutely loved it. And I can't wait to figure out what I'm going to do next through leadership through love. But when we talk about outgoing money, which is the Friday conversation that we have, what is my intention when I'm looking at that outgoing money? Am I recognizing how by sending workbooks out the door? So we're going to ship our June workbooks next week. What leadership through love looks like? Am I looking at how we create possibilities and how I'm serving my customers through leadership through love as that money goes out the door? I could choose to look at the box as it comes in as just another accounts payable, or I could choose to look at all of those boxes as a chance to change, or look at all those worksheet books as a chance to change somebody's life. And what does that look like? Okay. That's kind of amazing, right? And so when we look at that sort of stuff, it allows us to understand where we are or not living in our intention. And as soon as you ask that question, as soon as you ask the question after answering, what is my intention, you can find very easily whether or not you were living in your intention, okay? And so I know when I'm obsessing about my budget off schedule, I am not living in my intention, because I know what it looks like to obsess about my budget off schedule. I have 2 days in the week when I look at the budget, Wednesdays and Sundays. And I suppose I look at it on Friday afternoon when I do my Friday hour done. Okay? And I looked at my budget off schedule today, and I know I wasn't living in my intention. And the truth is that has a lot of other costs. And when you look at outgoing money, are you ever looking at those costs when you are setting the stage for iterative change in your life? What does it look like to understand the cost of not living in your intention when you look at outgoing money? Okay, because there is an opportunity cost. Every time you decide to people please, every time you decide to just get something done or use your willpower or whatever, there's a big cost to it. And it is over and above what shows up on the credit card bill. And what does it look like to look at those costs? That's a pretty crazy question sometimes, isn't it? And so if you ask yourself at the end of the day, did I live in my intention? How did living in my intention work for me today? How did being out of my intention work today? What wasn't going right, and how was being out of my intention work today? And then what am I going to do differently tomorrow? Right? And then tomorrow, when you're like setting your time schedule up, could you please look at what you did, like what you wrote down at the end of the day yesterday? Right? That's a great way to do it. And you take a look at that stuff. And that is the iterative change. But the iterative change looks like deciding to do this, putting it on your calendar and doing it no matter what, and then just thinking about it and continually asking yourself, did I live in my intention? Did I live in my intention today? And that's an amazing question, and it will change everything for you when it comes to your outgoing money. Because you know whether or not you are spending your outgoing money in intention. And a lot of people ask me, and I'm gonna like dive into local meat right here. Okay, because I got a ton of people who are like, oh my God, I can't believe local bacon is $14.99 a pound. Okay, I have my own bacon smoking right now, so I do the value-added processing myself. So my local bacon is cheaper because I know how to do it. If you want me to teach you, I'm totally happy to. Join us over at the Salt Cured Pig over here on Facebook. You'll learn everything you need to know. That's where I learned to cure bacon. And so, like, people are like super upset. They're really, really upset because how we, like, I think that there's this idea that how we spend our money gives us our significance. And when we're not out there in a transactional society, people feel like they are insignificant. And that is a, like, annihilation level experience for most people. And so, when you're looking at your outgoing money, is your intention in your life to live in a transactional society? Or have you adopted the idea of a transactional society? And how is that working out for you? Because for a lot of people, that transactional society isn't working out too well, which is why we talk about building wealth and community. I'm not just about compliance, I'm about wealth and community and compliance and bringing those things together to create freedom and opportunity. When you look at your outgoing money, are you asking yourself how you are building wealth and community? Did you spend it within a system? Maybe you don't have compliance systems that you got to spend it on, but maybe you have other, like, did you spend it within your budget system? Do you have a protocol? Did you set your budget protocol, like your money protocol, with intention? What is that intention? That's a pretty crazy question. Not very many people budget from that perspective. But as I go through my YNAB, I have the opportunity. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do this as part of Friday Hour Done. I am going to go through. One of the things that you have is you have the ability to set yourself notes. And for all the money I am spending in May, I am going to write down my intention. And I think for the next couple of weeks, I am going to write down whether or not I lived in my intention in that spending. It's a super good idea. See, there you go. So that's what it looks like. All of a sudden, when you're living in your intention, you become super creative. You become super focused on what you value and how you put value out into the world. And that, guys, is a really, really fun place to be. It's so much better than living in emotional energy and like grind and it's not that you don't need those things, but it's a little more fun to live in your intention and not live in people pleasing because they're kind of probably opposite. They're the opposite of each other. When you're really true to your intention and seeing what that looks like, that's pretty amazing and pretty good for what you are doing. And so those are just the questions. There's not, it's not a really hard process. It's a process of putting pen to paper. And it's an amazing thing for you to do. And so what if you just have to develop the capacity? What does that look like? What if you just want to develop the capability to live in your intention in outgoing money? If you did that, how would you act? Well, I know how I would act. I would look at my Friday Hour Done as an opportunity to reflect on whether or not my outgoing money this week lived in my intention. That's pretty crazy. I love that. That like opens up, if I turn and look at the truth of my feelings, like that really opens up so much for me. And I already know the systems within which I'm going to implement that. Like I'm just going to put it in the notes section of YNAB. And I feel light and I feel free and I feel amazing. And I'm building evidence that this is really going to give me good information about my business with which I can put together iterative change. And what result is it going to have? It's going to have the desirable results of reducing expenditures, because I bet there's money I spend out of my intention. Just knowing what's like on my credit card bill, I know that there's money I spent out of my intention. And then looking at, and just kind of reflecting on what we did yesterday, I know that there's money coming in that is out of my intention. And what that actually all looks like. That's pretty fascinating. That's pretty fascinating to think about. And so that gives me results that I want. It gives me the results of telling myself the truth, all right, about what I am thinking about my money. Okay, it's telling myself the truth by looking at the money itself, right? And then, is this something that's really that I'm going to be able to stick with and that's really going to work for me in developing the capability to live within my intention and outgoing money? I'm going to ask myself the strive questions. Am I physically safe to do that? Yes, I'm physically safe. Very comfortable office here. Am I financially safe to do that? I really, really am. I really, really am. Am I emotionally safe to do that? I think that feels a little icky, and I feel like I'm going to beat myself up some. So I'm going to be super aware of that in my thinking and in my note taking. And then, so the T in strive, so we're doing a strive model. The T in strive is, am I trained? I am trained. I've like trained myself how to do this. Do I respect myself and my bookkeeper to do this? And the answer is yes, even though my bookkeeper probably thinks I'm a little crazy, but that's fine. Have I spent the time, talent, and treasure to do this? Well, I've spent the treasure to get the YNAB set up. I've spent time to get YNAB set up, but I haven't applied my talent and time to do this because I thought of it like literally 4 minutes ago. Do I value doing this? 100%. This seems really, really amazing. Am I empowered to stand in fear and discomfort and failure to get this done? And the answer is yes, because I bet you there will be weeks that I don't show up to this. I absolutely bet. There are weeks I don't show up to this, and I am empowered to stand in failure and pick myself up and say, okay, I am going to do this. I'm going to do it going forward. I'm always at the exact right spot to pick up and drive forward. And then we do a light model. And I ask myself, if I look and I observe what I am doing, I'm super excited about this. I think this is amazing. What does my integrity tell me? My integrity tells me that this is a great next value generating step, because this is going to generate value in my business. Because what's the number one asset in my business? My brain. Okay, what's the number one asset? Because I'm going to do this I'm going to have Andrew and I do this over on our family budget. And what's the number one asset in our family? Andrew's in my brain. Brain development, like mindset management, is an asset in your life. And as you grow your ability to manage your own mind, you will make decisions faster and you will make more money. I promise, every day of the week, twice on Sundays. So you've heard me say that so many times. I think I say that like almost every single live. And then, so like if I look at my integrity, that's what my integrity tells me, that this is really, really good. Is this gentle? Yeah, it really is. This is kind and gentle to me. This is kind and gentle to the business. Continually inquiring around my business. Am I living in my intention? Is amazing. That continual inquiry has gotten me everywhere. It's gotten me everywhere. It's gotten me to the amazing business that I have, that I'm growing and scaling. That's so much fun. And then, is it helpful? Hell yes. Understanding where I am and am not living in my intention and outgoing money. Oh my God, think about how life-changing that is going to be in both my personal money and in my business money. And does it build trust and credibility? Well, in the business, it certainly builds trust within myself. And over on the family side of the house, it builds trust and credibility with Andrew and me, because every time we talk about our intention and being in our intention, it builds trust and credibility, and it builds our relationship together. And that's amazing. And that's a beautiful gift. And it's a gift we give each other. So that's how we set the process for iterative change around outgoing money. It does not have to be complicated if you don't let it, if you don't want it to be. You can complicate it, but you will not do it if you make it complicated. Make this easy on yourself. Decide you understand and can figure out what your intention is. Set aside. I mean, I remember when I did this, I gave myself 45 minutes to sit down and write about what the intention was. Okay. And I wrote it out in 45 minutes, and I actually did that 2 years in a row. Okay, so I had something that had leadership and love and all that sort of stuff in it for the first year, and I lived in that, and then I redid the work, and I was like, oh, it's leadership through love, and it was much simpler and fewer words. You know, it's like really intentional and easy to live in when you've got like the fewest words possible. When your intention is a paragraph, you're not ever going to make it. And I've really been living in that intention for a very long time, and it's really quite fabulous. It's really quite fabulous. And this is, and I mean, you know, these 6 weeks that I've come here live every day has really been a part of that living in intention. So what is your intention, and how is it reflected in your outgoing money? How did you live in that intention this week? And how didn't you? And what you going to do differently? That is setting the stage for iterative change. All right, my friends, that's what we got. Short and sweet today. You are all completely amazing. I will see you tomorrow for Science Saturday. And our final podcast, and we're going to talk about relationships. And well, I suppose this isn't a podcast, our final Facebook Live. And we're going to talk about relationships. I do have a podcast if you want to continue the conversation. We do lots of this stuff over there, Smallholder Food Business Development Institute. You are all amazing. I love you completely, and I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.